Hello everyone, and welcome back to Carrie's Beauty Corner. Today's True Crime Tuesday story is about a heifer named Sharee Miller. So we'll get into her story in just a minute. But if you're new here, thank you for visiting. I hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave. Hit that notification bell to be notified every time I upload new content. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. And without any further delay, let's get into the story. All right, let's talk about Sharee Paulette Kitley Miller. Born October 13th, 1971 in Flint, Michigan. Now, Sharee Miller was, gosh, I don't know if I have the right adjective for her. However, she was a piece of work, which, you know, most of these women that I've talked about, and I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I've just been doing women killers. I'll get to the men later, but I just thought it would be fun, not fun, you know what I mean, to start out with stories about women, because as a woman, it's just hard for me to fathom the behavior that women and men get away with. Anyway, they said that Sharee was very much drawn to the seedy side of town. She was on her own from age 16, and by age 19, she was married. 3 children. No, I'm sorry. Married with 1 child. Then for the next 9 years, she pretty much bounced from man to man. And by the time she was 26, she had 3 children with 3 different men. Okay, I'm not judging. I probably sound like I am, but I don't mean to judge. It happens. I'm gonna try this brush. I haven't tried this yet, so y'all hang on. Come on. So, 1997, Sharee takes a job. Ooh, okay. Okay, a little different, but definitely getting the job done. At a place called B&D Salvage, which was in Vienna Township there in Flint, Michigan. This particular auto salvage business was owned by a man named Bruce Miller. So Sharee has gone through man after man after man after man. And Bruce Miller is not married. Y'all, this foundation looks really pretty. Anyway, he was not married. And she set her sights on him. She decided, okay, maybe he's not the best looking man in the world. I've had worse. And he's got his own business. And guess what? He likes me. So, in 1999, they got married. Now, when they got married, Bruce was 48 and Sharee was 28. And again, like I said, she had 3 children with 3 different men. And here is a 48-year-old man who, you know, by most accounts, they weren't wealthy, but he took care of her and took care of her children in a way that no one had before. But she clearly did not have any appreciation for that, because before they were even married, she was already entering chat rooms to flirt and get the attention of other men. Her attitude at the time was, it's online. I'm not touching them. They're not touching me. This is perfectly legit. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. That was her attitude. Okay. Well, she meets online a man named Jerry Cassidy. Now, Mr. Cassidy is a former police detective. He is a pit boss at Harrah's Casino in Las Vegas. Well, Sharee Miller was a pink lady. She was a Mary Kay consultant. And there was a convention in Las Vegas where Mr. Cassidy was. Okay, so she met Jerry Cassidy. They had sex, and he thought that he had struck gold. This lady was willing to do anything, apparently, in the bedroom. She was just, I don't know, she was just really out there. But long story short, she goes home and they continue to maintain this online relationship. Okay, so Sharee goes back to Flint, Michigan, and she and Mr. Cassidy continue their online communication. I don't know if they did a lot of what was popular at the time, which was AOL Instant Messenger. And I think little did Sharee know that, you know, that was going to come back to haunt her. But anyway, let's make a long story a little bit shorter. There is a list this long of the lies and the manipulation that this woman began with this. I'm just going to call him a sucker, and I know that's not a very nice word. That's not a very nice thing to say, but he was a sucker for anything that she said. All right, the first thing she does is she ropes him in with sex. Okay, she's already done that. Well, then she starts sending him photos of herself. Ooh, I don't even know if I can say this. Masturbating. Ooh. Anyway, so she starts sending him these sexually charged messages, emails, instant messenger, those kinds of things. Well, then she starts dropping hints that her husband is abusive, and he's starting to abuse her. Sharee even went so far as to use makeup to doctor herself up to look like she had been beat. Then she tells Jerry Cassidy that she's pregnant with his children, and it's twins. This man is thrilled beyond, I mean, just beyond thrilled. He cannot believe his luck. So she even sends him, and it was 5 years old, but she even sends him a picture of an ultrasound, you know, to prove to him that she's pregnant. And of course she starts manipulating pictures and those kinds of things to make herself look pregnant. You know, anything to get him to believe her story is what she did. And this went on, I mean, this was 7 months after she married Bruce Miller. 7 months. What? Okay, so this was over a fairly short period of time that she is doing all of this manipulation with Jerry Cassidy. Well, eventually she tells him that Bruce Miller is associated with the mafia. His mafia people, they gang raped her. She lost the twins. He threatens her that he would never allow her to leave. You know, just really far out stories, you know, about what he would do, and they'd never find the body, and this, that, and the other, and made, you know, Mr. Cassidy, formerly being, you know, in law enforcement, he took this stuff very seriously. Very seriously. So she knew she had him then. And she told him that she felt like the only way out would be with Bruce Miller's death. Well, okay, first of all, how in the crap do you even go there in your mind? Okay? I don't know how people jump to, the only way I'm going to get out of this is if he's dead. Okay, well, yeah, maybe. Don't know. Don't know. But why don't you try? Why don't you try first? Because, you know, I would have thought that, and I'm not, this makes it sound like I think that Mr. Cassidy was, well, he was gullible. Let's just put it that way. He was gullible. Okay, so on November 8th, 1999, Bruce Miller is at his Vienna Township auto salvage. Someone comes in and murders him, shoots him with a 20 gauge shotgun, and leaves. Well, I think it was his brother who started looking for him and calls Sharee, can't get an answer, don't know where he is, don't know what's going on, and eventually he's found at the auto salvage, dead from a gunshot wound. Again, let me reiterate, this is 7 months after she married him. 7 months. Within 2 weeks of Bruce Miller's death, Sharee Miller has dumped Jerry Cassidy, has, you know, pretty much stopped taking his calls. She has a new live-in boyfriend, and she is just living it up. They said within 48 hours, she was at a club dancing. So it was pretty obvious to everyone, and I think Bruce Miller's brother and sister-in-law had a lot to do with Sharee Miller being caught, because they knew that Bruce would never do anything to cause someone to murder him. He just wasn't that kind of person. Okay, so Mr. Miller was murdered in November. Sharee Miller has gone on with her life. And meanwhile, Jerry Cassidy has left his job in Las Vegas. He is now in Missouri. And on February the 11th of the year 2000, Mr. Cassidy commits suicide. But not without leaving a suicide note. All right, this suicide note, full, absolutely full of evidence against Sharee Miller. I believe there were the instant messages. Oh, y'all, I'm using this avocado palette. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Really pretty. I'm trying to venture out with my looks a little bit. I'm trying to come out of my comfort zone, and I don't know. I see so many people do so many pretty looks, and I feel like I always look the same. So anyway, we're venturing out. All right, I want to read a little bit from this suicide note, so hang with me. All right, there was a message between Cassidy and Sharee Miller that was hours before her husband's death, and there were directions to the auto salvage that Sharee Miller sent Jerry Cassidy. That was the most compelling evidence that was in his suicide note. That and the fact that family and friends did not believe that Bruce Miller would have killed himself. I mean, would have caused a stranger to murder him. He wasn't robbed or anything like that. So, on the 29th of January 2001, Sharee Miller is arrested and convicted of Bruce Miller's murder. So Sharee Miller gets on the stand and she accuses, I think, an ex-boyfriend, an ex-husband, somebody else. She definitely accuses someone else of the murder. She denies anything to do with it. Typical narcissistic crap behavior. And to me, I think if you are the victim's family and you have to sit there and listen to someone who killed your loved one, you have to sit there and listen to them pretend that they didn't do it and put the blame on someone else. That's got to be part of the worst. That's got to be the worst feeling. It's like, come on. All victims' families usually want is for the person who committed the crime to be caught, for them to admit their guilt, and, I don't know, to say they're sorry. Is that too much to ask for? Be right back. All right, so Sharee was convicted in 2001. She went to prison in Michigan. She was up to her old shenanigans. She was still communicating with men. There was a man who saw her on one of the crime programs, one of those Forensic Files, Snapped, one of those shows. And he believed that she was innocent, and he goes to visit, or they start communicating. He goes to visit her in jail. They get married, blah, blah, blah. Her conviction is overturned somehow. and she's released while her case is being reviewed, but she ended up back in jail in 2012, where she remains today. Now, here's what I was saying earlier about, dang it, you know, most family members, they just want to know why. Why did you kill my loved one? You know, why did you feel you had to go to such a drastic measure and kill my loved one? And then they want to hear an apology. And I don't really think that that is too much to ask, but Sharee Miller, during this whole time, never admitted guilt. She was constantly looking for someone else to blame. She was in communication with her children during the time that she was out, but she got 3 years of a normal life after killing a man. I mean, after being convicted of killing a man, she still got 3 years free. That kind of ticks me off. But it happens, you know, it happens all the time. And I can't find my blush. All right, as I was saying earlier, what most people want, and y'all, let me just tell you, this Moira blush, oh Lord, we got pigment. We got pigment all over the place. I had to kind of tone it down a little bit. I went in a little bit too heavy. But anyway, you know, what most people want is to know why their loved one was killed. They want to know, you know, I would think why is going to be, you know, one of your main questions that you want answered. And then I would think, and this is just me, and this has nothing to do with this case in particular, I kind of find this true in any case, is what your loved one wants to hear is that you're sorry. You know, you're sorry. You if you could take it, I mean, not really if you could take it back, you would. Because really nobody wants to hear that crap. It's like, no, you did it. It's done. There's no taking it back. But anyway, you at least want to hear somebody say that they're sorry. I mean, come on. I just felt really, I have seen a couple of different, not like Lifetime movies, not like those kind of depictions, but I mean like a real interview with his family, and his family was just devastated, his brother and sister-in-law. But anyway, I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll wrap up when I come back. All right, here's my final look. Not having the best hair day ever, but here's how my eye look turned out using the Avocado Toast palette. But anyway, in wrapping this up, in 2016, which was 17 years after the murder, Sharee Miller finally admitted her guilt. She finally admitted that it was her lies and her manipulation that, what's the word I'm looking for, that drove Jerry Cassidy to want to murder a man who he believed murdered his children, murdered his twins that the love of his life was pregnant with. So she admitted that it was all because of her lies and manipulation that Bruce Miller was dead, and then it was the guilt that Jerry Cassidy had for killing him that caused his suicide. So she was really, in essence, responsible for 2 deaths. And I want to read a quote to you This is what Sharee Miller said about her husband, Bruce. He was a great man. He never hurt me or my children. All he did was love us. He wanted to adopt my children. He just wanted a family. The only man who ever loved me, for me, I had killed. So I don't know if that was any consolation to the family of Bruce Miller, but I hope it was, because I know that I would want to hear that. And I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, and I have had a very, very close death in my family, but I mean, of course it wasn't a murder. But I've investigated. I'm an investigator. Let me start that again. Anyway, I have read about enough crime, and I've seen enough programs about crime that I know that you never really have closure, but the closure that most family members look for is to know why and to get an apology. And so I do hope that that helped Bruce Miller's family, even if it was just a little bit. So now you know about Sharee Miller, and I will be back on Thursday, and I have no idea what I'm going to be back with, so just prepare to be surprised. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.